All right, everybody. Today we're diving deep into a story that's often overshadowed by highlight reels and championship banners. Michael Jordan's relentless leadership style and his complicated relationship with one of his key teammates during the Chicago Bulls' second three-peat, Luc Longley. Now, when you think of the Bulls' dominance in 1990s, names like Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman come to mind instantly. Their brilliance on the court, their accolades, and the dynasty they built are legendary. But behind that dynasty was a team of role players, specialists, and guys who did the dirty work. And among them was Luc Longley, a 7'2" gentle giant from Fremantle, Australia. Luc wasn't the flashiest, and he wasn't the loudest. But his story is fascinating because it shows us that even the greatest of all time needed the little things done right. And he needed teammates who could take his fire without letting it burn them out. I'll show you a few clips of Luc Longley and even Michael Jordan himself addressing their relationship. But first, welcome. My name is Paul, and this is The Basketball Show, where I talk today's NBA, current events, news, players, and more. All completely unbiased, even though some people think and disagree, because any opposing opinion to weak people is always hating. So truth is truth, and I try to stand by that. So let's set the stage here, guys. Michael Jordan's leadership has been described in every possible way as tough, demanding, vocal, cutthroat, competitive. And in the end, it was effective. 6 titles, 6 finals MVPs, dominance that changed the game forever. But not everyone liked it. In fact, most of his teammates did not. Jordan's approach often crossed the line from competitive to confrontational, and he knew that. But he didn't see any other way to get to the mountaintop without that edge. Now, Luc Longley, who joined the Bulls in 1994, got a front row seat to Jordan's leadership. When he described MJ's styles as carnivorous, Jordan himself couldn't help but laugh at that, and he didn't deny it. He owned it. So take a look at what he said about it.
Now, your desire to win and your toughness on the team as a result of that is absolutely legendary and was explored in The Last Dance. Luke described your leadership style as carnivorous. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I can see that from his perspective. Quite naturally, yes, I can see that. And look, I didn't go in there with that mentality. That's how it's gonna. It's just so my mentality was to win at all costs, and pull, push, yank, whatever to get everybody on the same page.
Every moment with Jordan was intense, raw, and as Longley put it, downright predatory. If Jordan sensed a weakness, he pounced on it. Not out of cruelty, but because he believed pressure forged champions. And let's be honest, he wasn't wrong. The results spoke for themselves. Longley played alongside MJ during his second three-peat. He experienced firsthand what it meant to be pushed by one of the all-time greatest. That ferocity translated into results on the court. Jordan demanded greatness, accepted nothing less than perfection, and didn't care if he came off like the villain. He just did not care. But the friction between Jordan and Longley was different from the infamous punch Jordan threw at Steve Kerr. It wasn't a single blow. It was more like a psychological warfare, a battle of wits and willpower. Longley revealed years later that Jordan's approach wasn't personal in the typical sense, but it was a test. And he said this, and I quote, "I think Mike was doing what he did to rookies. What he was doing to me," Longley said. "He was just testing me, seeing where my boundaries were, seeing which buttons he could push, how he could drive me. And I probably saw through that and didn't want to take the bait. So we had a few clashes." Jordan, for his part, admitted he respected players who fought back, those who earned his respect in the fire. And that's where Longley's story gets a little bit interesting. You see, Luc Longley didn't bark back. He didn't feed the fire. He didn't try to match Jordan's intensity. And at first, that only made things worse. Jordan was bred in the fire of North Carolina. Intensity, competitiveness, every game, every single practice. Now, Longley, meanwhile, came from Australia's laid-back sporting culture, where team cohesion often trumped individual dominance. It was a clash of cultures, and it wasn't easy for either of them. By the time Longley arrived in Chicago, Jordan was in hiatus, chasing fly balls in Birmingham, Alabama. But when Jordan returned in 1995, the clock started ticking on Chicago's next title run. Jordan's leadership was legendary, and stories of him trash talking, intimidating, and sometimes even humiliating teammates are NBA lore by today. He demanded that everyone match his level of focus. Longley didn't, at least not in the way Jordan expected. And yet, that's what made him so indispensable. He did the unseen work, setting screens, boxing out, covering defensive gaps, buying Jordan an extra second of space. In the 1995-96 season, when the Bulls went 72-10, Luc Longley had earned the spot as the starting center on the most dominant regular season team in the NBA history. Respect was eventually earned. There was no dramatic team meeting, no locker room blow-up, no grand gesture. It just shifted. Jordan came to understand that while Longley might not snarl in practice or feed the fire, he showed up, always. And in a team built on trust, that was the only currency that mattered. And Longley said also this: he knew that I did the little things. He needed to get his job done. At the end of the day, it's a respect thing. And once we found that respect, it was easy to get along. That mutual respect became something stronger during the championship runs. Longley started all 39 playoff games during the Bulls' final 2 title seasons. He wasn't there to light up the scoreboard, but when they needed size, defense, and smart passing, he delivered. After the dynasty ended, Longley played a season in Phoenix and briefly with the New York Knicks before injuries ended his NBA run. He was done by 2001. His body worn down, his mind ready for a quieter life. Now, during those years with Michael Jordan in Chicago, if you look at his statistics, those years for him are his best years. Best point averages, best field goal percentages, best rebound totals, and everything else. The guy was just his best self under Michael Jordan. So that Michael Jordan leadership really brought his best out of him. But in retirement, his significance has only grown. He was the first Australian to win an NBA title. So he inspired a generation of Australian players like Andrew Bogut, Patty Mills, and Ben Simmons. And in 2021, ESPN Australia gave him his own documentary he deserved, and it was called Luc Longley, One Giant Leap. And Jordan himself appeared in that documentary, offering the respect Longley had earned. At the end of the day, Jordan's leadership style wasn't for everyone, and he knew it. Some players thrived under his demands, others crumbled. But no one can deny the results. 6 rings, 6 finals MVPs, the greatest dynasty the NBA has ever seen. And maybe, just maybe, that's the cost of greatness.
You would assume that everybody had the same mentality as I had. Strive for perfection each and every time you step on the basketball court. But unfortunately, everybody don't have that same mentality. But I had a mission, I wanted them to understand what it took to win, and winning has a price. And I'm pretty sure there were times they were not happy with me. But, as a leader, sometimes you're not going to be well liked. You're not going to be, but you have to pull them along.
So, all right, let's finish this up. What can we learn from the Jordan-Longley dynamic? First off, leadership is messy. It's not always pretty. It doesn't always come with smiles and high fives. Sometimes it's tough. Sometimes it's harsh. And sometimes it's downright uncomfortable. But sometimes that's what's needed to get to the top. Players that want to be everyone's buddy and want to be desperately liked by everyone might play 22 or 23 seasons and not even get close to winning 6 titles. Jordan's brand of leadership would be almost impossible in today's soft NBA, an era where social media highlights everything and toxicity is a buzzword for people. But back then, that's what built championships and champions. That's what separated the men from the boys. Now, everybody's too sensitive. Luc Longley, laid back, unflappable, unbothered, proved that you don't have to be loud to be effective. He proved that you can do the dirty work, be the glue guy, and still earn the respect of the greatest player of all time. And maybe that's the real lesson here. It's not about changing who you are to fit someone else's mold. It's about showing up, doing your job, and letting your actions speak for themselves. That's what Luc Longley did. And in the end, Michael Jordan respected the hell out of it.
I'm deeply thankful to MJ for showing me how to be a better basketballer, for compensating for my weaknesses with his brilliance. You don't have to love a bloke to be on his team, to care about him, to play basketball together. I didn't love MJ. I thought MJ was difficult and unnecessarily harsh on his teammates and probably on himself. And I think, I just didn't enjoy being around him that much. And that was cool. It was cool with MJ and it was cool with me. There was at the end of the day, we found a way to respect each other on the court and to coexist, and that was cool.
Now that's it for today's episode of The Basketball Show. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about Jordan's leadership style and whether it would work in today's game. Until next time, keep it real and keep hooping. I'll see you in the next video.